What's up, guys? How's it going? It is Matt here. So before I jumped into the video, I'll give you a quick little warning. My fall allergies are kicking my butt, so if I sound funny, that's what's going on right now. Anyway, guys, this video is brought to you today by Call Beyond Duty Coffee. I'm a big fan of their coffee. I love their coffee. And let's just say I like it a lot, and you should go check it out because you'll like it a lot. So the link is down below in the description, so go give them some love and try out their coffee. It's worth it. So what we're going to be talking about today, guys, is we're going to be talking about two different carry options. So this is kind of a comparison video. This video is going to be between, as you saw in the title, the Beretta 92X. This is a beautiful gun. This is the Centurion model. And the lovely and great CZ75 PCR with these awesome new lock grips that I picked up, which are really cool. And I think it's appropriate this time of year because these are zombie green and, well, Halloween's coming up. So we're going to be talking about the two carry options, these two right here. And we're going to get back and forth. I'm going to kind of talk about the pros and cons of each and maybe help you decide which one that you want to choose. Now, basically speaking is, if you're like me, guys, you prefer a double action pistol over a striker fire pistol. Now, striker fire pistols are very safe guns if you have a good finger discipline and stuff like that too. But honestly, at the end of the day, I just prefer the extra safety of a double action pistol. There's a couple benefits of a double action pistol. I'll just pull a CZ, for example. I just love these grips. They're so pretty. They're cool. Sorry, I like them. They're really cool. But basically speaking, there's a couple benefits of a double action trigger. So now these have been cleared both or prior to the video. So first benefit of it is in a high stress situation. If you have to pull your gun out, it's a longer trigger pull. It's a much longer trigger pull than, like, say, a striker fire pistol. So if you want to engage the target, you almost can't accidentally pull the trigger. If it's cocked, you can. But when it's in the double action mode, you almost can't pull the trigger on accident. Whereas a striker fire pistol, you can accidentally put too much pressure on the trigger and pull it. I've seen it plenty of times, and law enforcement videos and competition videos and stuff like that, it does happen. So that's one benefit of it. Now, another benefit of a double action trigger is that after you do fire that double action shot, you have this beautiful single action shot, just a beautiful, like, absolute nice single action shot where you can take a very precise shot, and it just helps a little bit when it comes to your marksmanship. If you yank it and jerk it, that's not going to help, but when it comes to this beautiful single action trigger, you can make more precise shots with a single action trigger. So that's another benefit of it. The other benefit of it is the other safety factor, that when you're putting it in and out of the holster, especially for you guys like to carry appendix. I don't know how you guys do it. I used to do it, but I just can't do it anymore. That time of year. But anyway, it's when you're putting it in and out of the holster, what you can do is you put your thumb on the hammer like this, and you can put it in and out of the holster. Like I said, especially for you appendix carry guys. If anything gets in the way of this trigger, you will feel it right here, and you will prevent that hammer from going back. So there's almost no possible way that you can actually shoot yourself accidentally if you do this. So that is another benefit when it comes to a double action pistol. Now that I covered the benefits, we're going to talk about these two specific guns, because when you're looking for kind of a class of a carry, like say we're going to do a 9mm today, you're talking about a class of a 9mm. There's honestly three different guns that you're going to go between, but the most popular ones that you see out there a lot when it comes to double action 9mm is either some form of a CZ or some form of a Beretta. All right, because they are just classic. They've been around for a very long time, and they are great guns. So, first thing we're going to talk about, if you know me, guys, you know I'm all about concealed carry. Now, when it comes to concealed carry, you can pretty much, if you have a good belt and a good holster, you can pretty much carry just about any size of gun. However, yes, the truth is that if the smaller the gun is, the better that you can conceal. But you can carry pretty much any size gun when it comes to those. Now, one downside to getting a double action pistol is that usually they have more heaviness in the back, and they're usually heavier than your striker fire gun because of the actual mechanics of the actual gun and the parts that are in it and stuff like that. They just make them a little bit heavier because you need the extra components to make it a good double to single action pistol. Now, another thing that I want to throw out there that in my personal opinion, is important when it comes to double action pistol, is you have to have the ability to decock the hammer, because after that first shot, like I said, after that first shot, the first shot's going to be a long double action trigger. After that first shot, the slide will cycle and you'll have that beautiful single action trigger. And the problem with the beautiful single action trigger is it is such a nice trigger that you could accidentally pull the trigger. So in my opinion, you need some sort of decocking mechanism. If you see here on the Beretta, this is a safety decocker. This is not the G model. This is the standard, the FS model. Basically what it does is when I push this down, you see it pushing it down, it moves the firing pin out of the way. All right, and it drops the hammer safely down. Now the only catch with this one is now that the trigger is dead, so you have to pop this back up. We used to say in the Marine Corps, red is dead. You pop that back up so the trigger is active. So in my opinion, for a double action pistol, you need some sort of decocking mechanism. There's some double action pistols out there, especially when you get to like the different models of CZs they do not decock. So the only way to actually decock them is to do the grass decock, which is kind of hold the hammer back, pull the trigger, and set the hammer down gently and hope it doesn't go bang. I'm not a fan of that with double action pistols. If I want a single action pistol like that, I'll stick with my 1911s because it's designed to be carried like that. It has safeties that are perfectly designed for that. So now the CZs, they do have safeties that design in that, but I'm not a fan of that in general. That's just my personal opinion. So I want to have a decocking action. So on this pistol right here, all right, on the CZ, the decocking lever is right back here, and it's a really good place. Okay, and when you push this down just like that, you got to push it hard enough. It almost puts it in what's called a half cock position. If you can tell, it's not all the way down, whereas if I pull the trigger, you'll notice it goes all the way down. But when you put this down, it's kind of a half cock position, but it safely pushes that hammer down. So when you pull that first trigger, it now becomes that long double action trigger. The cons of a double action pistol is if you don't practice with that double action trigger, you are going to be jerking it every single time you pull the trigger, and that very first shot is going to fall low. If you're right-handed, it's usually going to go low to the left. If you're left-handed, it's usually going to go low to the right. So you have to practice that double action trigger and get used to it. You don't want to stage it before you pull it. Some people do that. What you want to do is you want to smoothly pull it back to the rear all in one motion. And you practice that, you get used to that, and you'll get a lot better at shooting that. And you'll be amazed that if you master the double action trigger, your marksmanship in general will just start going up because it's a longer trigger to master and you can learn it. So that's really pretty much only the downsides and the added weight to it when it comes to double action pistol. Now we're going to get into the comparison between these two awesome models. Okay, these two awesome models. Now the first thing that we're going to talk about is the size. Okay, we're going to talk about the size. This is the Centurion model of the Beretta 92X. So basically what that means is they have the Beretta's version of a compact slide, which really isn't all that compact from the original M9. So it has a slightly smaller slide with a full length grip. So what that does, it gives you really good leverage on the pistol when you shoot. Whereas the CZ75 PCR is definitely smaller, much smaller. Even the grip is slightly smaller than that. You know, the Beretta grips aren't, the compact or the full-size grips really aren't that huge. They really aren't that huge. But right here, that grip is just a tiny bit smaller, all right, when it comes to the CZ. So this definitely has the advantage of size, especially for some people that have a harder time carrying the full size kind of grip. This right here will give you that edge where it makes that grip just a tiny bit smaller, so it conceals a little bit better. And believe it or not, a little bit of a tiny, like centimeters off the grip or even an inch off the grip will change the actual carry profile of the gun a lot. So that is the one big difference of these. Now another big difference is the weight. Okay, the weight is a difference. Now this one right here is I wouldn't consider it heavy, but some people would consider it heavy. But compared to this is very heavy. This is a little bit heavier than that. Holding them up, I don't have a scale, guys. I don't have I don't have the mathematics in my head that I can tell you the weight of them. But you could easily tell a difference. This is much lighter. The alloy frames on it, this is much lighter than this. This one has a little bit more metal on it, which makes sense. It's going to be heavier. But in general, this is just a lot lighter. So between the two, this is going to be the lighter one if you prefer a lighter carry. Now, a pro to having a slightly heavier one is it helps a little bit with recoil management. I will tell you from shooting these both side by side, I took these out to the range together, This one doesn't kick as much as this one. This one has a slight kick, slight more kick than this. Not much, but you could feel the difference. You're like, okay, yeah, it kicks a little bit more. Then you shoot this one, I'm like, yeah, this is almost nothing. Because of that extra weight on it, this shoots a little bit better when it comes to recoil management, and this, it's not horrible, but it does recoil just a little bit more, which can be expected from the two. Now, another thing you want to consider about the guns is the customizability, however you say it. Basically speaking, I like my carry guns to have a few customizations to them. I don't do anything to the trigger or anything like that. However, if you get the 92X Centurion or 92X Standard, whatever it is, it pretty much comes with a custom trigger job. It has a beautiful, just a sweet single action trigger or double action trigger pull, and the single action trigger pull is even better. It is just a beautiful trigger pull, very smooth. There is play in there, but it's very smooth when you're pulling it back to the rear. There's almost no like kind of weird feelings to it, and the reset is also beautiful on it. So this one right here will come 100% with a slight trigger job on it, which is kind of nice. Now, another thing that comes with this is this has two sets of grips when it comes to the 92X. So this is the full size grip, but it also has kind of like the that almost like a 1911 grip that comes with it. It's a thinner, straighter grip, but for a Beretta, for some reason, is where my trigger finger sits on the trigger. When I have that smaller grip on it, the Vertec grip, my trigger finger doesn't sit on the trigger where I want it to be, and I pull my rounds a little bit. I'm putting almost too much trigger finger on it. So for a Beretta, for me, I put on the full size grip because it just fits my hand better, and my trigger, what do you call it, the trigger gap or whatever you want to call it, better on my specific hand of the size. Now, when it comes to this is a much thinner grip. It is a much thinner grip, but the shape of this grip is phenomenal. The shape of this grip is absolutely phenomenal. It literally like feels it molds in the hand. Now, what I did for this, however, when it comes to customizing the grip, what it comes with is a PCR comes with these rubber grips, and believe it or not, they're actually heavier than these grips here, with these rubber grips, and I'm not a big fan of them because my hands slip and slide all over them. It doesn't feel very comfortable for me. So whenever I get a gun that I have issues with a grip, I immediately turn over to Lock Grips, and I give them a call or I give them an email like, hey, do you have any grips that I could use for this? And they usually send me a good quality set of G10 grips, and that's like this one right here. These are the Zombie Green Ridgeback grips. They're very aggressive. I like the feel of it, but they're not so aggressive that it hurts, but they're just more aggressive enough than those. But because of how thin and how smooth they are, I wouldn't say smooth, but how they feel in your hand, it fits my hand perfectly on this gun. Now, one pro when it comes to this is, if you remember when I said on my Beretta, is I have to have the full-size fatter grip on it so my trigger finger sits on the trigger where I want it to be. When it comes to the CZ, that's just not the case. Honestly, I don't need the fatter grips because the way how this trigger is, it feels like it's a little bit farther forward than your standard Beretta. So when my finger sits on it, this is, when my finger sits on it, it's almost like the perfect position. Even with the standard grips on it, it felt like a perfect position. With the lock grips on it, it feels even better. But it's almost like the perfect position for my finger. Now, the downside to this trigger is this trigger isn't as nice and crisp as that one. This one is a lot stiffer. It's a little bit heavier. All right, that one's a lot less, or it's lighter, but it has a long pull. This one just has a long pull, but it's a very smooth, very, very, very smooth pull. There's almost no take up in it or anything like that, or no creep in it or anything like that. Now, the single action, the reset is much longer in the reset of the Beretta 92X. However, it's not so bad. There's not really much squishiness. There's a tiny bit of play in there, but it's a very solid reset. It's very positive. You could feel where that gun resets. So the trigger on this, just standard out of the box, is really good. It's not quite as good as that trigger, but when I took it to the range, I shot this one great, and I actually shot this one a little bit better than that, which is kind of crazy. And I think that has to do with the fact how my hand actually sits on this grip. Now, in a self-defense carry, concealed carry, how I do this grip for me just out of the box feels great, and then when I put the lock grips on, it feels even better. So that is good. Now, another customization that I usually do with my guns, which I don't plan on doing with this, is sight adjustments. So the 92X actually comes with really nice sights. It doesn't come with night sights. It just comes with a nice kind of high visibility orange sight and a blacked out rear sight. They're actually really good sights if you're not big into customizations. Me, out of habit, I like to put night sights on my guns, so I reached out to Langdon Tactical and I put night sights on this specific gun, and they are really nice sights. They have a great profile and stuff like that. Put it on my trout there. You can see my trout. But they're decent grips and they glow very well at night. So you want to have the ability to change the sights if you do want to change the sights, because it's kind of what I do. I like to change out the sights, especially with my Glocks. The Glock sights suck. So I got to change those ones out. So this has the ability to change out those sights. Now, when it comes to the CZ, this one also has the ability to change out the sights, but for some reason I have no intention of doing that, because honestly, when I see these sights, I kind of like them a lot. I really like these sights a lot. The profile that this comes from out of the box are really nice. They're a green kind of sights, so they kind of stand out, especially in the light, very well. But they are not night sights. That's the downside. They aren't night sights to them. But honestly, is the way how these sit and the way with the grooves right here. If you see, there's a groove that goes at the top, kind of reduces the glare. I really love these sights out of the box. So, but you do have that option to customize those sights, remove them, and go out there and get them. And CZs have plenty of sights out there. Berettas have some sights out there. So there is that possibility that you can change them. So both of these are great carry options. They are absolute great carry options. Concealed carry, open carry. I kind of focus on concealed carry. You have all the features that people ask for when it comes to concealed carry. Now, there's only one other downside to the Beretta, and that is the actual safety feature of this, the way how this one works. One, it's something you get used to, but it's mounted on the slide compared to the CZ mounted on the frame, right? This one is mounted on the slide, and then I'm used to it, but a lot of people may not be used to it. They do have that downside of when you put them down, it is now unsafe. Now you can go out and get the G model, which will change this out so it'll be just like that, which is decock only. But as it is out of the box, the FS model, this is how this one comes. So that's one other downside to it. But with training, that's something you could fight through and you can learn how to do. So honestly, at the end of the day, guys, either choice, either the CZ75 PCR or the Beretta 92X Centurion, they even have the compact model of that, I believe. They have the compact model with just slightly smaller grips on it. They're both great carry options. They both have great features that come with them. They're good shooters. They're very accurate guns. Very, very accurate gun. My grouping, I'm slightly better with a CZ than I am with a Beretta. So they're both great guns to shoot. They're both great options to choose. So what you need to do if you're trying to decide between these two guns is, the best thing I can tell you is to go to your FFL, pick them up in your hands, feel which one feels better in your hand, and from there you can decide which one will work best for you. So you want to make sure there's a good amount of trigger finger on there, which is, the length of it. You want to make sure it fits your finger, your hand actually good. You want to be able to pull that trigger if they allow you to, or you can pull it straight back to rear in that double action without pulling it to the side a little bit. If you're pulling it to the side a little bit, it may not be the best fit for you. So you want to get your hands on both of these guns and just feel and see which one works best for you. Anyway, guys, I hope this helps if you're trying to decide between these two guns. Now, I also want to give a shout out to my Patrons out there who keep this channel going. If you want to help support this channel, go check me out on Patreon. Fortunately, I'm not the most active on Patreon because I'm more active on YouTube and stuff like that, and I'm at EMT school, which is a pain in the butt. But I am out there, so if you want to go and help support this channel, go check me out on Patreon. So that link will be down below in the description as well. So like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about me, guys, and remember, it's our responsibility to take care of each other and protect each other. Peace.